That could be the most competitive QB room in the NFL.
You simply cannot make the playoffs with that sort of approach.
Another brilliant take from Oliver Gallimore there.
Unfortunately, Najee's been playing with fireworks and has taken one in the eye.
The Bengals are going to be flying and the Commanders are in trouble.
Welcome back to the Early Hours podcast, where all three of us are now coming at you in crystal clear audio. Don't say we're not trying to constantly improve on this show. Guys, are we feeling like podcasters yet after launching the first episode, or is it still early days?
I think it's still early days. I think, it's pre-season in the NFL. It's pre-season for the early hours. We're just making sure we're ramping up and getting ready for week one.
Like you say, it's very early days in the NFL as well. But another round of pre-season fixtures have just happened. Let's start off by giving credit where credit is due. Caleb Williams and the Bears 38-0 against the Bills. An absolute shutout. And yeah, Caleb did look pretty good. I've just got it here. On his first drive under Ben Johnson, he's 5 of 6, 97 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. I know it's preseason, but those stats don't lie.
No, they don't lie. And as painful as it is for me to say, he looked good. They looked good. He was only on for the sort of initial series, but he was connecting with Loveland. He found DJ Moore. They were using a lot of motion. I mean, it was very apparent that Ben Johnson is in town in Chicago. So they were using a load of different PAs and play actions and whatnot. So yeah, it was good. It was really interesting, but he just drove down the field. It was very clinical, made, like you said, a majority, if not all, but one of his passes. They look good. They look a really, really strong side. And a couple of bits on the Bills as well, I think, wasn't there, Matt?
Yeah, obviously the Bills were much weaker. They fielded a much weaker team, so you've got to kind of take it with a pinch of salt, but still super impressive from a quarterback that we didn't see much from last year, and obviously it's his first real play in pre-season, so that was cool. And if you compare it to Josh Allen during the team training earlier in the week, he threw 3 picks against the Bears defense. So yeah, there's work to be done for the Bills, but I'm sure they'll get there as they always do.
And look, we do always have to sort of caveat it with, it is training camp and it is pre-season, and if there's ever a time to throw picks, it's now.
I personally wouldn't want to be throwing 3 picks against the Bears, though, if I was Josh Allen. We're talking about, MVP Josh Allen here.
That's true.
That's very true. That some of that doesn't compute. I mean, you get a bit of pre-season jitters, but you didn't score a single point. There's no field goal in that. What are you doing, lads? Come on.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the kicker will be the starter as well, right? It'll be.
Well, that's what you think. So. That's what you think. And it's just, it's not a good day at the office for that Bills side, let me tell you. And it nearly wasn't a good day at the office for the Packers either. We just scraped a win against the Colts. I just want to talk about Jelani Woods really quickly. I think he was incredibly unlucky not to get the game-winning touchdown there. It was a really nice drive from the Colts, and I was watching that with my heart in my mouth. I know, again, it's pre-season, but we got really, really lucky. We know we love a good toe tap in the NFL. This was more of a heel tap that. In any other game, it could have gone either way. I know we've got a new computer, AI-driven scoring and refereeing system here, but that was unlucky from Woods, and I hope that doesn't knock his confidence too much going into the regular season.
No, and if anything, he's just added to his highlight reel. No one will remember if that was a touchdown or not. What they'll remember is that he managed to keep his heels in play, which was quite remarkable, and absolutely credit where credit's due. Similar to Caleb Williams, the Colts deserved that game, arguably. So,
Agree.
Also, just a quick mention on the Packers. Malik Willis with quite an impressive 4th down play. Unfortunately, Marshawn Lloyd did feature in the game, but sounds as though he's picked up another hamstring issue, which haunted him last season, kept him out for a majority of the season, pretty much all of the season. So, worrying signs. A more encouraging performance from week 1, but yeah, credit where credit's due for the Colts.
Yeah, speaking of credit, let's just fly over to MetLife really quickly. The Giants 31-12 against the Jets. What I found really interesting here is that the Giants, with their QB room, just decided to bring out Wilson Dart, James Winston, and DeVito, all of them throwing dimes like there was no tomorrow, like it was a playoff game. Honestly, that could be the most competitive QB room in the NFL. And that is saying something when the Browns have got their situation that's going on at the moment.
Yeah, and listen, we spoke about it last week. These derbies, they might be pre-season, but they mean something. You know, I'm sure we'll come on to LA and Rams to the Chargers and Rams, I should say, because they're both LA teams, obviously. But yeah, no, it was interesting. Dart stood out for me again. Don't want this to become the Dart show, but my God, he really is making a case for rookie of the draft. Really, he's
Rookie of the draft.
He's playing unbelievably well.
As opposed to no rookies.
The non-rookies of the draft.
Oh well, sorry, you know what I meant. No, he really
another brilliant take from Oliver Gallimore there. He's 2 for 2.
What did we say about the training wheels at the start of the show?
We said that Brock Bowers was a bust last week, and maybe we'll get on to why that's not the case.
He looks really good, and actually it was nice to see him get his first rushing touchdown as well. He was quite hecked up after it, so that was cool for the Giants fans. But yeah, also quick note on that game, we cannot leave that game without talking about Abdul Carter, the first round pick, the 3rd overall pick, getting absolutely flatlined. The Jets tight end and the Jets defensive tackle just tag teaming him and wreaking havoc on the first round pick.
Yeah, welcome to the NFL, Abdul. Is I think all we can say there. Some more scores across the preseason games. Texans beat the Panthers 20-3. Browns actually beating the current Super Bowl champions 22-13. And an interesting game here: the Dolphins beating the Lions 24-17. Did any of those fixtures surprise anybody?
Again, they're all a little bit surprising, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I think that Dolphins-Lions game, though, look, we never want to see a player get injured. We never want to promote, the head injuries particularly. But I think about Tua and I think about Miami, and the Dolphins really, really, really reliant on him. That QB2 spot is sort of a bit of an unknown. And Quinn Ewers had a really strong preseason game. Bounced back from week 1 where he was struggling a little bit. I've just got some stats here. Completed 11 of 17. 116 yards, 2 touchdown passes, which, like I said, was a real bounce back. So that was encouraging for Miami. Some slightly concerning news again at the RB position for them is just Devon Achane with that soft tissue issue.
Yeah, your first overall pick in your draft. Are you worried?
First overall pick in the draft. So yeah, very concerning for my locker room, but more importantly for the Dolphins locker room.
Well, speaking of running backs, let's have a quick running back roundup, if you may. I just want to quickly touch upon Ashton Johnson, 6th overall pick. I thought he was overhyped to say the least as a 6th overall pick. I thought there was a lot of pressure on his shoulders, but boy, did he deliver! He looks like the real deal. He stiff-armed Smells Lenore, which is actually one of your starters in the 49ers. So that was brutal to say the least. But he's got 33 rushing yards and a touchdown for his time on the ball against the 49ers, which I thought was pretty good. The Raiders didn't look like they were messing around, really. There were no pushover. They also they fielded Myers and Bowers during that game. Raiders look good preseason again. Smells, were we expected? Is that what we expected from that game? I know you're up against it, but you did come out slightly with the win.
Yeah, I think when you look at who played, the Raiders fielded a much stronger team. Brock Purdy looked really good while he was out there, and then we brought on Mac Jones and Carter Bradley after that, who surprised me actually how well he played, and Jake Moody with a 59-yard field goal after almost missing a 26, which is just the highs and lows.
What a roller coaster that was.
That was a roller coaster.
Yeah, Genty looked good. I think we did quite well to contain him for 33 for 7, but he looks explosive, and he's shown that he is a proper 3-down back in the NFL, which is exciting for them. And I do think it also unlocks Geno and Brock Bowers on a bit of a longer ball occasionally if people are thinking, well, Genty's going to go for 2 or 3 of these snaps here. So it could be exciting in Vegas. I think they just need something more. There's just something lacking over there, which I think has been the same for years. Even when Devontae Adams and Jimmy G went over and everyone thought this is going to be great. There's just something missing over, isn't there?
I think so, but maybe Johnson could be the key. It's not often you get a 6th overall pick, so the Raiders, I think, have done a pretty good job.
Yeah, 100%. I think he showed really good signs of not just that rushing piece as well, that rushing element. He was in the backfield. He was swinging left. He was trying to run little flats. So yeah, Pete's obviously going to look to use him as a receiving back as well. Like you said, that 3rd down back mentality. He's going to be a central piece to this offense. He's probably going to be him and Bowers are probably going to be the only 2 major pieces till next year's draft. But yeah, they're going to be able to utilise him in a number of ways, and certainly suits that scheme. So interesting one to watch for sure.
Very much so. Opening up to other running backs that aren't Ashton Genty. Who else surprised you in the week just gone?
I had Trayvon again. Trayvon Henderson is just firing on all cylinders. If he's not returning punts for 100 yards, he's just dominating the line of scrimmage. He burst up the inside. It was a little inside zone route, and I'm just looking at it here. 3rd and 4 it was. It was a really critical play in that moment of the passage of play, and 8-yard burst through the inside zone and took it to the house. So he is just flying. That's 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks, and he's making a real name for himself. So
I think New England in general look quite good. I think they could surprise a few. However, they could also win 3 and kind of go like that. But yeah, so far so good for the Pats. I think the one who I'd like to quickly mention isn't actually playing at the moment because he's going to be the RB1 in their situation, is the Chargers running back Amari Hampton. He looks really good coming out of the draft. He's going to be their RB1, so they're resting him. He was due to split snaps with Najee Harris, who they brought in from Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, Najee's been playing with fireworks and has taken one in the eye, which is just what you want to hear.
Yeah, well, you want to be playing with fire in the NFL, not particularly fireworks. There's a difference there.
I think he's still expected to be splitting snaps, so it's not quite the Ashton Genty 3-down back, but really exciting to see what he can do, as it was a high draft pick for them. So expecting quite a lot from a young player who's not had a pre-season, which we'll see how that goes.
And then Sanders as well, back-to-back weeks scoring touchdowns. I think first attempt was I'm just looking at here, was a 42-yard rushing attempt against the Saints last week. We didn't touch on that, but then again this week, not quite the same as 42 yards. It was only the 1 rushing yard, but all the same, he got it done. He got it in the end zone, and that's what counts. So again, really making a name for himself, and he's pairing up nicely with Trey Lance. It's
all getting pretty exciting, obviously, as we gear up to week 1 of the regular season. Hopefully we're going to see more and more starters. I think, like I say, I think the Raiders, they were fielding a pretty strong team, so maybe we'll get to see some of the likes of Gibbs and Josh Jacobs actually starting in the next round of preseason. But again, you don't want to reveal your cards too much, especially when you spend all of the off season creating new plays. I want to round out today's show just by talking about the trade block. We had breaking news last night where John Mechie has joined the Eagles, which I think is a really interesting move. Obviously, towards the end of last season, we had a bit of drama between AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. Brown came out and said, "I just don't think I'm considered a wide receiver 1. I'm not getting the receptions that I want from Jalen," and they had a little bit of a fallout. So if that drama in the locker room continues, genuinely, I think John Mechie could find his way into that starting lineup in the Eagles. I think it's a pretty good signing.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's competing with. They've obviously seen something, right? They've traded for him. They've not just picked him up from. So they've gone out for him. So I think he's competing for that sort of wide receiver 3-4 spot. Probably see him in the slot in certain plays. Ultimately, he's behind Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. And all the controversy aside, AJ Brown is a certified wide receiver 1 and absolutely the main target. And actually, I think the reason they have recruited another wide receiver is because the writing's on the wall there. They're probably going to look to the passing game a bit more this year to take the pressure off Saquon Barkley. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a very. I think
he can contribute on special teams as well, absolutely, which is also a big bonus. But yeah, it's just more depth in the receiver room. I think everyone needs that this season with how everyone's dropping like flies.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Also no breaking news is actually the headline here. Micah Parsons still no contract extension. The clock is ticking. Guys, what is going on over at the Cowboys? I said last week, I feel for Micah. It's getting a little bit tight now, to say the least.
Yeah, I think Jerry's probably too busy negotiating contracts with his cheerleader team again. So yeah.
Sorry, he wants to focus on his generational talent at defensive end. But yeah, it was interesting. It built up over, obviously the trade request was a couple of weeks ago now, but it really sort of we saw a sort of spark and ignite in the trade feud that is going on in Dallas, and it looked like they were starting to get some offers sort of fielded for him. The talk of the town is 2 firsts, which is a massive payout, but 2 firsts and some So there'll be a couple of suitors. There will be a couple of suitors. There's always teams with those first round picks, and he is an instant defensive fix. There's no two ways about
It's
it.
expensive though. It's like something out of draft day. Would you pay 2 firsts for Micah Parsons if he came to the Packers?
Great reference, by the way. What a film.
What a
Kevin
film.
Costner, unbelievable. But yeah, no, I would. I think, look, he's worth the money. I think age is on his side still. He is by far statistically one of the best, if not the best defensive end in the league over the last few years. He's absolutely worth his weight in gold. And obviously the other one that sort of really ramped up over the weekend was Trey Hendrickson. So that one's really starting to take shape. I think if we're honest with ourselves, Parsons will probably just stay in Dallas, and he's probably using all this as a bit of an opportunity to get his contract and bump the cash up. But I do genuinely believe Trey Hendrickson is out of there. I think they've clearly tried, and it just doesn't seem to be working. So a couple of teams interested: Colts, Browns, Panthers. Again, talk on the town is a first and some.
That would be quite something, wouldn't it?
It would be spectacular.
You got anyone on the trade block that you've been keeping an eye on?
I mean, the one that's come out the last few days alongside Hendrickson, which is obviously quite a new development, is Brian Robinson Jr. Yeah. Again, he's a running back that needs snaps in the preseason. He's a guy who's been sharing snaps a little bit, not necessarily an RB1 in a lot of places. Probably just feels like he deserves more than what he's getting at the Commanders, so which is more than fair in my opinion. So yeah, again, is it a play to get a better contract? More than likely, I would say so, because I think he's in a pretty sweet spot where he is. But that's just the excitement, isn't it?
Also, you flip the coin on that. That puts the Commanders in a tad sticky situation, in my opinion. They'd be left with Austin Eckler, I believe, if my sort of research is up to date.
Is right.
But yeah, it leaves him in a sticky situation. I think you're right. I think we'll see. It's a bit of a game that he's playing, and his camp are playing. But same with Terry McLaurin, right? We'll probably see week 1 or just prior to that. Then they'll both be signed
when he's back from yoga, of course.
When he's back from yoga, absolutely.
It's not ideal for them, is it? Having two of their potentially starting backs out. It's worrying. It's just the Deebo Samuel show at the moment, I think.
Not for their sophomore QB anyway.
Speaking of the Commanders, really quickly before we end, obviously it's Monday Night Football tonight. Commanders, Bengals. Just who have you got? I'm actually, you've got Burrow versus Daniels. If it happens, it won't, but it might happen. A man can dream.
Actually, if we look at teams that have fielded, going back to what we were saying before, that have fielded starters, Bengals have been right up there with one of the teams that have caught.
You think they
everyone
might take
guard.
a break now? Or do you think they're just going to keep steamrolling?
I don't know. I think just with how historically they've been in those opening weeks of the season, the last couple of years they've tended to lose the first 2 or 3, which is frightening. And you simply cannot make the playoffs with that sort of approach. So you never know. We might see Chase and Burrow again tonight, and it could be interesting. We could be talking about it on Thursday before long.
So who have you got? Sorry, who have you got?
I've got Cincinnati in that one,
Yes, so have I.
Just because of those opening series. I think if Burrow and Chase do play, you might get an early touchdown, which then, gives the second and third teams a bit of an opportunity to keep the lead.
Yeah. And Smells, you?
I agree completely. I think you'll at least see them for a couple of series, maybe even a quarter. The Commanders won't be pushing out anyone strong or whoever they've got, because obviously everyone's waiting for a contract in Washington at the moment. So, Cincinnati for me, they need to start better. And I think part of that is getting the guys in early, making sure everyone's happy. And again, that's an issue they've had in the preseason as well, is contracts and injuries and whatnot. So
the key takeaway is the Bengals are going to be flying and the Commanders are in trouble.
Well, yeah, that's what I heard. It's like one of those things where they don't have enough players, so they have to field some people from the crowd in a Sunday league game. Right, well, there we go. That's all we've got time for today. I just want to round out the show really quickly by saying thank you very much for the initial support on the launch. It is very, very new and different to us, and it's can be quite scary to put yourself out there, but the overall feedback has actually been really, really positive, so we really appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next episode on Thursday.